This is the voice of admin, and this is Clancast number 4. And we're lucky to have Michelle in the Clan HQ with us right now. Hello, Michelle.
Hello, everybody.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm doing well.
Good. You ready to answer another batch of questions here?
I am ready.
Fantastic. First one is from Runs with the Wolves, who says, what do you think is the key for a successful story? Because I'm writing a story at the moment and really love writing. Are you happy with the ending to Ghost Hunter, or do you wish you could change it or write another one?
Well, the ending, I am delighted with the ending of Ghost Hunter. Yeah, I read it just recently and I thought, oh yeah, I'm really, really pleased with that. That is not giving anything away as to whether it's happy or sad. What do I think is the key to a successful story? I personally think it's character. I think if you care about the main character or characters, then you're going to read the story. And conversely, if the background can be as amazing or exciting as possible, but if you don't care about the characters, why read the story?
Thank you. Shadow of the Moon says, hi, I love your books. My question is, how long do you spend writing at a time, and how often do you write? Once a day or a week?
I try to write every day. I tend to write in sort of blocks. I mean, I'm best in the morning, so I try to put in about 3 or 4 hours in the morning, and then have a lunch break and, do the shopping or whatever, and then another 3 hours in the afternoon. I'm not very good at writing in the evenings.
Now, Kemertwa, I don't know how to pronounce that, Kemertwa says, and really picking up what you were just saying about characters. Hi, I've always thought that characters in a book are the most important things. So, I was wondering, how did you come up with characters like Torak, Wolf, and Wren? How did you choose their personalities and all? For example, some authors choose them because they wanted to be like their characters.
Yeah, that's quite a perceptive comment, actually, because, I mean, there is part of me in Torak, and I think what I was really looking at there was I wanted to write about a boy and a wolf because I had wanted to have a wolf as a child, and I wanted to live in Torak's world. So it wasn't terribly conscious, but that's the kind of story I wanted to write, an adventure story in Torak's world. And so then it seemed natural that then I would write about a boy who's a loner, a little bit like me, because that's what I want to be.
Leon says, hi Michelle, I'm currently studying archaeology at college, and we recently looked at different levels of social organisation throughout history. The first level of which is hunter-gatherer bands in the Mesolithic period, like Torak and his people. I was wondering how much research you did into the archaeological side of the Chronicles. Which books did you use, and did you look at any specific excavations for inspiration?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't, get a degree in archaeology, but I did quite a lot of reading of archaeology of the period. Trying to think of the books. So many of them, and I don't want to sort of read a long list of them. There were certain cultures I looked at particularly, I forgive my pronunciation, the Kongamosa and Ertebola cultures in, I think it's Denmark. Because they were the sort of, I knew I wanted to be, Mesolithic, as you say, and so there were certain excavations which helped me. There were also some unpublished PhD theses up in the British Library, which were really, really helpful. And then a lot of books like, sort of more popular archaeology, After the Ice by Stephen Mithen, The Mind in the Cave, it's not Mesolithic, but it was a fantastic book about ideas about how early people would have behaved in caves and things. So that was very helpful. And then anthropology as well, ethnoarchaeology. I did get into a lot. The Religion Explained, Pascal Boyer was very, very useful to me, and various others, shamanism, the classic studies. So yeah, I have read quite a lot, but not based it all on one particular archaeological site.
And I think we should just point out also there are links to quite a lot of the background research you did on your other website, your personal website, michellepaver.com.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me,
Female Tailless says, hi Michelle, first I just want to say I love your books a lot.
Thank you.
I haven't loved a series so much since Harry Potter. More than Harry Potter.
Excellent, that's what I want to hear.
Well, anyway, I know most people are asking huge questions here, massive spoilers about the next book or the film. I can't wait, but I really want to know what happens to the wolf cubs. Does Wolf leave them to help Torak, and what happens to Dark Fur?
Well, you're asking now, aren't you? I mean, you've perceptively picked up on the fact that Wolf now has responsibilities. He's got a mate and he's got cubs to look after. and Torak is going to have to deal with Eostra. We know that much, don't we? She's the last of the Soul Eaters. So how is that going to pan out? How can you look after your cubs and your mate and go and help Torak? I'm not going to answer the question, but it's a question.
Yeah, it's a question, and that's not a complete answer.
Nope.
Okay, Scary Cookie says, I'm probably one of your older readers and have thoroughly enjoyed reading the books that I originally bought for my daughter.
Oh, wonderful.
I work in a primary school and wonder if you ever visit schools. Your books appeal to girls and boys of all ages and are ideal for getting the reluctant boy readers engaged. Meeting a successful author is always a great way to inspire reading and writing in the young. If a personal visit is not possible, perhaps you could consider a web-based virtual visit. Great books, by the way. I'll miss Torak, Ren Wolf, and the others when the series ends.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah, I do some schools visits. What tends to happen is they're clustered. There's sometimes a little tour in the middle of the year when the paperback comes out, and then there tends to be a longer tour, about 10 days, when the hardback of the next book comes out in sort of September or October. Those tours are organised by my publishers, so the best thing, if you want me to come along, is to write into the publicity manager of Orion, and you'll find the address in the books, and then they'll put you on a list, and then they'll try to, obviously, I can't visit everybody who asks because I get a lot of requests, but I do some, and I'd like to.
Yeah, and yeah, they will coordinate, and there's
Yeah.
actually there is a contact form too that you could use for school visits. And what happens is when we receive that contact form, we just forward it to the publishers, and they can try to coordinate. But as you say, it's not always possible, is it?
Yeah, no, that's right.
Yazzo says, what geographical location does the series take place in? Is it based on a real location in Northwest Europe or totally fictional one? The coastline seems to be the most like Norway, but the geography doesn't fit. There doesn't seem to be any deep fjords, although I've never even been to Europe, so what do I know? Some people say that it's in Ireland. But then, how come when they go a short way north, there are polar bears? Personally, I'm guessing that it's simply a combination of interesting and archaeologically rich areas in Europe, but I could be wrong.
Well, your guess is pretty much there, actually. It's definitely not Ireland. As you say, it's not far north enough for polar bears. And the similarity is just by accident. There are some deep fjords. I just haven't indicated the depth on the maps. What I did, basically, was, yes, it's set in North Scandinavia, say. I needed a particular latitude so that I know what kind of plants grow there, how far certain trees grow and animals and things like that. But, and you can do this as a writer, I then moved mountains and changed the coastline and the rivers to suit the story. So, and partly also I didn't want anyone to be able to find the exact place where certain things happen, because I think that would spoil things.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why it's a combination of interesting places in northern Scandinavia.
Putz wants to know, why did you pick a wolf and not any other animal for Torak to befriend, like a cat or something?
Well, now I'm going to offend everybody who likes cats and horses and everything. Well, wolves are partly because I really like wolves. I mean, that's the emotional reason, and that's the most important. But the second one is they're really useful. I mean, to have a wolf as a friend, he's got great hearing and eyesight and sense of smell, and he's clever. You see, I like horses, but if Torak had a horse for a friend, they're not that clever, not compared to wolves, and they're quite scared, so they'd be no use at all apart from being ridden in a fight against a soul eater.
I don't know that Torak and his pussycat would actually...
Well, he wouldn't get very far.
No.
The pussycat wouldn't help very much. He'd just walk off. So I'm probably offending all the cat lovers. But no, wolves, apart from the fact that I love them, are incredibly useful for Torak.
Yeah. Arctic Wolfchild says, when you wrote the Chronicles of Ancient Darkness, did it give you a new goal in life or change your views on how to live? As I read through the books and also listened to the audio CDs, I felt as if I were part of the story, and it has changed how I see things.
Well, it's great that it's changed your views, I hope in a good way. In terms of goals, I don't think it's changed me, because I've always just wanted to write. But although it has been encouraging, particularly getting all your views and your enthusiasm, that's helped me to go on writing. Has it changed my views on the world? I think in subtle ways it has a bit. I mean, I knew about hunter-gatherers when I wrote, but I didn't really know quite how amazing they are, and the way they live with natural things in the world, and I think it has made me even more aware about conservation and that sort of thing, and yeah.
The ruler says, will you be visiting the Bath Literature Festival this year? I've been to see you talk twice, and I'd love to hear you again.
Oh, goodness. I think I am going to go to Bath. We're talking about which date at the moment, but yeah, I think I will be at Bath. And since you were there, I'm sorry that it was such a long signing queue. I was signing for something like 3 hours, and I felt really bad about the people at the end of the queue, but I was signing as fast as I could. Sure. Yes, so I hope so. And because I know some people come again and again, I will try to make a different talk this time.
Good. Well, sign up for it now, I would. Mistress says, Dear Michelle Paver, please may I request, if you're happy to answer some questions for the Youth Council-based website, The Jitty. I'll put the questions following here, but we would also like your permission to publish your answers on www.thejitty.com,
sure,
along with a review of your book, Wolf Brother, and then a review of your new book, Ghost Hunter, which will be written by a member of our site. Now, can I just say, Mistress, that the questions you ask here actually have been pretty much already asked and answered by Michelle. So can I just say that this Clancast is issued under a Creative Commons license, which means you can use it as long as it's for non-commercial purposes, in any way you want to, really. So do feel free to transcribe it if you want to, or just to copy it and put it on your website. You can do that.
Oh, great. That's a much more technical answer than I was. Yeah, I was just going to say yes, but that's great.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
But if you do want to write down some of Michelle's answers and use those as the basis of an interview, you're very welcome to do that, as long as you don't use it for commercial purposes. Ember Wolf says, Michelle, how hard was it for you to write about the characters as they're growing and changing in body and mind? Is it hard getting into their shoes as the story progresses?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Now, I actually found it was really one of the positive things about writing the series. I suppose because I'd planned it. When I planned the series, I had an idea of how they were going to change. For example, in Outcast, Torak turns 14. He's going through adolescence, and he's having a really horrible time. His terrible birthday. But it's the kind of way I felt when I was an adolescent. And so I was pretty much remembering how I felt as Torak goes through all these different experiences, and similarly, particularly Ren as well. So no, I've enjoyed that. I mean, I think it would be really weird if they just stayed the same. If Torak stayed 12 all the way through, I think it would be weird.
Now, here's a question from Wish I Was Ren. That's all one word.
Right.
I think you got a fan there.
You're not alone there, actually.
Yeah. When Torak is given the tattoo that shows he is for all clans, does that mean he can rove through the forests and lands and live wherever he likes?
Well, it's not a passport, because obviously not everybody's going to understand, that mark on his forehead. And for him, actually, in some ways, it still remains an outcast mark. I think I refer to it as that, because psychologically it was an outcast mark when he was given it. But it does put people at their ease. Although what will really put them at their ease is his own behaviour, of course, which is always the case.
Yeah. And Wish I Was Ran also says, when girls begin their moon bleed, they're given a special mark. Do boys have a tattoo when they come of age?
No, they don't, actually. And that's because girls are special, because they have this, particular physical thing. They get their period, and so they have a moon bleed, and they get their mark. And in hunter-gatherer societies, boys, when they become men, quite often don't have big sort of rituals and things. Sometimes they do, and they can be quite yucky, actually. But in the forest, they don't. Interesting question. Thank you.
I don't think I can pronounce this name very well. It's Skjohuni. Skjohuni. I mean, I'm sure I've made a mess of that. But anyway,
it's probably from Scandinavia.
I think so. Yeah. Skjohuni says, "How do you get your pen to paper?" I mean, I've got an idea for a book, but it comes out all wrong.
Yeah, right. Really, really difficult. Sometimes you can start, and sometimes you just can't. What ways in which to do it? Well, sometimes if I'm finding a chapter is sticking, I'll start at a bit that I want to write. It might not be the bit where the story starts or the scene starts, but a sentence. Wolf trotted through the forest or something like that. and then I can always loop back, but that'll get me at least writing. If I'm really stuck, then, going for a walk can often help considerably, just doing something else and then getting back to it. Asking yourself, what do you really want to write? Because sometimes you're stuck because you don't want to write something. Well, then don't write it. Skip it. Put it in flashback or something like that.
The same person also wants to know, will the clan keep running after it ends? Well, I can tell you the clan is not going to close when Ghost Hunter is published.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Yeah. Nasha the First says, as with all your books in this series, the title, no doubt, has a very specific meaning. Does the title refer to Torak or another character working in a similar way to have his place as a spirit walker or soul eater? Or does it refer to much darker events ahead with much more dire consequences for Torak? Obviously, hard to answer without giving away the ending.
Oh, but I can have a try, I think. Well, as with all the other titles, many of you picked up on this, it refers in part to Torak, Ghost Hunter, for reasons I won't go into. But it's a title that can apply to quite a few other characters. It's got many levels, as they say, which will only become apparent when you read Ghost Hunter.
Ren's fan says, are there any upcoming signing tours, and do any of them include Ireland?
At the moment, we haven't finalised the plans for this year, so I'm afraid I can't tell you. I think they will be finalised in the next month or so, something like that. And then there will be details on the clan. At the moment, I'm not sure about Ireland, but I'm not ruling anything out.
Yeah, well, it's just a short hop across the Irish Sea.
Yeah, exactly. I'd like to go.
Yeah, hopefully. Ren's fan also wants to know two more things. When it refers to roots, that's the manuscript, as in to eat, do you mean carrots and parsnips and such?
Oh, I see. Roots, no, they were wild parsnips at that time. What I'm really referring to there, I'm trying to remember the names of these things. There are various kind of roots that you can dig up in the forest. Pig nuts are one kind of root. They're small roots. Just the name has escaped me. Goosefoot, I think you can dig up the roots of, and there are various other roots. But no, not potatoes, for example, obviously. But they would have been quite familiar, much smaller than the sort of things that you would get in the supermarket. So you'd need to dig up quite a lot more of them.
Ren's fan also says, I was watching Doctor Who, and he went to the time of Charles Dickens, and the Doctor said, thanks, and Dickens said, what does that mean? So it occurred to me in the COAD series, it says thanks, but that really wasn't said then. So my question is, was it just to make it more user-friendly or an honest mistake? It's occupied my mind for a long time, so I was just wondering.
I'm not sure I understand the question, whether you're thinking...
It's all about thanks.
The word, yes, but whether you're saying that that's anachronistic in Doctor Who, in which case I agree with you, you're right. A Dickensian gentleman like Dickens would never have said something like that. In my world, it's a little different because I'm having to translate, in effect, everything that Torak and Ren and Fincadian say. So from the language they would speak, which would be something like Proto-Indo-European, an old language. So there, I think, strangely enough, I don't think I am anachronistic, because as long as they don't use sort of cricketing or football expressions or something like that, they can say things like thanks. But you're right, for a Victorian, no, definitely not right.
Yeah.
They should have picked that up. I saw that episode. They should have picked it up.
Yeah. Silver Shadow says, what's the feeling like when coming face to face with some of the amazing animals that form your cast? Do you feel afraid, amazed, nervous, etc.? And out of all the animals you ever met, which has been your most awe-inspiring and memorable encounter?
Well, the wolves, of course, have been fascinating. Not so much awe-inspiring, because I really like them, and I happen to know these wolves at the UK Wolf Conservation Trust quite well. I mean, one of them's called Torak, actually. He was named that as a cub. He's gorgeous. He's lovely. So that's just, fantastic seeing them. The polar bears were pretty awe-inspiring.
Wow.
Seeing polar bears on the ice, is amazing. And I got very close to one. I was on a sort of a truck looking down. This is in northern Canada, and one of them came right up close. So I was relatively safe as long as I didn't jump over the edge of the truck. And this polar bear looked into my eyes, and that was extraordinary. I'll never forget that.
Yes.
But perhaps the most awe-inspiring was the killer whale, because he swam right underneath me, and he wasn't he was aware of me, but he was ignoring me, and I was very much in his world, and that was a feeling of great awe.
Yeah. And you have actually met, I mean, this is quite unusual for an author, you actually have met quite a lot of the animals that you've written about.
Oh, I've tried to meet pretty much all of them. I mean, I haven't met an auroch
No.
because they don't exist. I've seen a bison, but that's a sort of more modern version.
And the ravens too, of course.
The ravens too, in the Tower of London. I've recently met an eagle owl, which was an extraordinary experience. I do try to, because you always get something that isn't in books, and that's what I hope will bring the story to life.
And finally, last question of this particular Clancast comes from Waxwing, who says, I'm sorry, but this will probably be terrible English. Well, actually, it's not at all, Waxwing. It's very good English. Is either Torak, Ren or Wolf going to die? Because I would be utterly devastated. Please answer my question. I'm dying to know, and am finding it hard to concentrate.
I'm really sorry you're finding it hard to concentrate. I wish I could tell you. But I can't. I really can't tell you the answer. But it's let's just say Ghost Hunter. You know, the name. It's quite scary, isn't it? That's not a hint. That's just a way of ending this question.
Well, sorry about that, Waxwing. You have to wait another few months, I'm afraid. I hope you can take the stress. Thank you very much, Michelle, for being with us today.
It's been a pleasure.
Well, it's been fantastic. Your answers have been extremely enlightening. This has been Clancast number 4. But don't worry, if your question wasn't answered, it may be addressed in the next Clancast, Clancast number 5, coming very soon.